It might be a little concerning, the thumbnail of this live stream, but it's because I've been putting off something for so long. I don't even think I'm gonna do it because you know it's so hard, and I have all the time in the world to do it. I just don't want to do it. So that's the hard aspect when you don't have that willpower. Because keeping up with this stuff, it makes me so happy. Like this is something that I want to do. But I guess it's because I'm familiar with it. At first, I didn't want to do it, but the more you keep going, the more you appreciate going. I remember this chapter, so we're definitely past that. Okay. Yes, you are confident. Wow, your name changed. That's awesome. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi. Welcome back. So, yeah, how have you been? So we stopped here at this illustration where Gandalf took Bilbo into that bear man shape shifting place. Bjorn's Hall. That's also PewDiePie's son's name, but spelled with a J. So yeah, they were here and they needed some help and to eat and stuff. Actually, no, the Eagles helped them eat, but they needed their way to, you know, get ponies. They need supplies to continue their journey. Yeah, now I'm ready for worthy for that name. Really, what changed that name from unconfident to confident? Did something happen? Did you conquer your fears of like social anxiety, something like that? Wow, 156. Failing. Failing? Oh, 1 minute late. No, it's okay, Queen. Welcome back to the stream. How's it going? And yeah, don't even worry about it. It's hard to even come like completely on the dot um early, but yeah. How you been, Queen? Do you call two several? Well, no. As a matter of fact, there were more than two. Where are they? Killed, eaten, gone home? Well, no. They don't seem all to have come with I whistled. Shy, I expect. You see, we are very much afraid that we are rather a lot for you to entertain. Go on, whistle again. I'm in for a party, it seems, and one or two more won't make much difference, growled Bjorn. Gandalf whistled again, but Nori and Ori were there almost before he had stopped, for, if you remember, Gandalf had told them to come in pairs every 5 minutes. Hello, said Bjorn. You came pretty quick. Where were you hiding? Come on, my jack in the boxes. Nori at your service. Ori at. They began, but Bjorn interrupted them. Thank you. When I want your help, I'll ask for it. Sit down and let's go on with this tale, or it will be supper time before it is ended. I mean, good. Good. Shush. Tomorrow's my last exam, then no exam for 2 months. No way! That's awesome, confident. I hope you really, really, heal from all your exams. They literally do brain damage. I'm not even joking. Exams are like that, man. I'm still not healed from the finals that I took. And that was like May 16th. That's like almost a month ago. And still. Like my brain is like thinking about school and I haven't gotten into that mode in summer vacation where it's like you don't have anything to do and you're kind of bored and you kind of want to go back to school. I don't know if you guys can relate to that. If you ever had so much free time that you want to go back to school. Tomorrow, okay, pure peace, just peace. I literally can't spell today. Oh, it's okay. Okay. As soon as we were asleep, went on Gandalf, a crack at the back of the cave opened, goblins came out and grabbed the hobbit and the dwarves and our troop of ponies. Troop of ponies? What were you, a traveling circus? Or were you carrying lots of goods? Or do you always call six a troop? Oh no, as a matter of fact, there were more than six ponies, for there were more than six of us. And well, here are two more. Just at that moment, Balin and Dwalin appeared and bowed so low that their beards swept the stone floor. The big man was frowning at first, but they did their best to be fully polite and kept on nodding and bending and bowing and waving their hoods before their knees in proper dwarf fashion. Till he stopped frowning and burst into a chuckling laugh. They looked so comical. Troop was right, he said. Fine comic one. Come in, my merry men, and what are your names? I don't want your service just now, only your names, and then sit down and stop while I eat. I need to binge watch some movies and go play to recover this rain. Literally confident. You need to do as much as you can. Brain rot, doom scroll, all of that. Just like, you know, exams really take the life out of you. You need to at least waste a little bit of time to feel that guilt again. Like, oh, I'm wasting too much time. You're not gonna feel it for a bit, because you work so hard. I was talking to Ruben a lot today, and Charlie's, for some stupid reason, asked Ruben if I like him, and he scrunched his face and he was disgusted and said, "No, you." Yeah, that's good. That Ruben doesn't want to get into those, you know, premarital relationships. It's too young for that. It's good that they're like you. It's better that way, cause a lot of teen parents exist. You don't want to be a teen parent, right, Queen? Queen, did you eat? Yeah, did you eat? Ballin and Dwallin, they said, daring to not daring to be offended, and sat flop on the floor looking rather surprised. Now go on again, said Bjorn to the wizard. Where was I? Oh yes, I was not grabbed. I killed a goblin or two with a flash. Good, growled Bjorn. It is some good being a wizard then, and slipped inside the crack before it closed. I followed down into the main hall, which was crowded with goblins. The great goblin was there with 30 or 40 armed guards. I thought to myself, even if they were not all chained together, what can a dozen do against so many? A dozen! That's the first time I've heard eight called a dozen. Or have you still got some more jacks that I haven't yet come out of their boxes? Well, yes, there seems to have been a couple more here now. Philly and Killy, I believe, said Gandalf, as these two now appeared and stood smiling and bowing. That's enough, said Bjorn. Sit down and be quiet. Now go on, Gandalf. So Gandalf went on with the tale until he came to their fight in the dark, the discovery of the lower gate, and their horror went when they found that Mr. Baggins had been mislaid. We counted ourselves and found that there was no hobbit. There was only 14 of us left. 14! That's the first time I've heard 1 from 10 leave 14. You mean 9, or else you haven't told me all the names of your party. Well, of course, you haven't seen Oin and Gloin yet. And bless me, here they are. Hope you'll forgive them for bothering you. I'll let them all come and hurry up. Come along, you two, and sit down. But look here, Gandalf. Even now, we have only got yourself and 10 dwarves and the hobbit that was lost. That only makes 11 plus 1 mislain, and not 14 unless wizard count differently to other people. But now, please get on with the tale. Bjorn did not show it more than he could help, but really, he had begun to get very interested. You see, in the old days, we had known the very part of the mountains that Gandalf was describing. He nodded and he growled when he heard of the hobbits' reappearance and of their scramble down the stone slide and of the wolf ring in the woods. Who needs to watch K drama when you have Queen? Literally, her life is so interesting. He used to date someone, I think, and he's very sus. Oh wow. You guys are only 12 though. So it'll be fine. Oh, for real though, confident I have the best stories. Yeah, and they're all true. Believe you. Is this sarcasm? Yo, Air Scott, welcome back to the stream. Where's your mod? Could be. Okay, so in the last stream, Air Scott and Killer got into a fight and they're like throwing insults at each other. Air Scott did stop initially. I still took it away after that because, Killer, I didn't want to, just take only one. I don't want to seem like I was taking sides or anything, so I took both of theirs. No, Julia took, yeah. I can give it back to you now if you want, Air Scott, because you're nice if Scott is not there. Stop, stop, stop. So there's your mod. Don't throw insults anyway, Shella. But yeah, how have you been, Eric Scott? And did I say welcome back to the stream? Probably. Anyway, so we're at the point where Gandalf is still talking to Bjorn, and he's slowly introducing each dwarf because there's so many. I think there's one more. Well, it's so funny because Bjorn is trying not to get overwhelmed. He keeps saying like, "What? How the numbers keep going up?" I just had Ruben's voice stuck in my head. I see. Yeah, I don't like Killer, to be honest. Didn't know anything about the past, but his behavior is bad. I guess I don't know. But that's what he says about like Eric Scott, and then he's okay with tofu for some reason. It's kind of weird. I don't know. It's interesting how some people get along, some people don't, and I don't even know why. When Gandalf came to their climbing into trees, okay, with the wolves all underneath, he got up and strode about and muttered, "I wish I had been there. I would have given them more than fireworks." "Well," said Gandalf, very glad to see that his tale was making a good impression, "I did the best I could. There we were with the wolves going mad underneath us and the forest beginning to blaze in places, when the goblins came down from the hills and discovered us. They yelled with delight and sang songs making fun of us. 15 birds and 5 fir trees. Good heavens, growled Bjorn. Don't pretend that goblins can't count. They can. 12 isn't 15 and they know it. And so do I. They were Biffer and Buffer as well. I haven't ventured to introduce them before, but here they are. In came Biffer and Buffer, and me, gasped Bomber, puffing up behind. He was fat and also angry at being left to last. He refused to wait 5 minutes and followed immediately after the two. Well, now there are 15 of you, and said, and since goblins can count, I suppose that this is all that there were up in the trees. Now perhaps we can finish this story without any more interruptions. Mr. Baggins saw that how clever Gandalf had been. The interruptions had really made Bjorn more interested in the story, and the story had kept him from sending the dwarves off at once like suspicious beggars. He never invited people into his house if he could help it. He had very few friends, and they lived a good way away, and he never invited more than a couple of these to his house at a time. Now he had got 15 strangers sitting in his porch. By the time the wizard had finished his tale and had told of the eagle's rescue and of how they had all been brought to this Carrock, the sun had fallen behind the peaks of the misty mountains, and the shadows were long in Bjorn's garden. "A very good tale," said he, "the best I have heard for a long while. If all beggars could tell such a good one, they might find me kinder. You may be making it all up, of course, but you deserve a supper for the story, us for the story all the same. Let's have something to eat." "Yes, please," they all said together. "Thank you very much." Yo, Arrow, welcome back to the stream. I was wondering like if you're gonna come today because I know you were like into the story, so like I felt kind of bad reading it without you in the stream. What's going on so far in the story? Okay, so Gandalf, you know how he had a plan about bringing in all the dwarves, but like not all at once, just like two at a time. It was like making Bjorn more. If you remember, Bjorn is the shape shifting creature, like the skin. Yeah, he's the bear and the man kind of combined. So Gandalf was, you know, saying the story of their experience so far in their adventure, and like in throughout the story, like he was inviting all the two dwarves in intervals, and then in the end all 15 made it inside the house of Bjorn, and now they're gonna eat supper basically. But it was so funny like what happened. You could rewatch the stream from before, when you can. I got my mod back. Yeah, you did. He's a vibe killer. Thanks. No problem. You're welcome. I don't know. I was last on the book when you read about them leaving the Goblin Cave. That was a long time ago. I mean, they left the Goblin Cave. They went to the forest where they thought what the last chapter was all about. It's like out of the frying pan into the fire when they went into the trees, and then the wolves were underneath them, and then Gandalf. put them on flames with his like magic, but then they countered that by turning the flame inward on them. And yeah, I never listened to the book. I just chat. Are goblins real? No, they're not. This is a fiction book. So yeah, let's continue. So now they're gonna eat because Bjorn is. Isn't it a history book? No, no, no. This is not history. This is all made up, but like it's really interesting. It's still good for the brain because you're trying to use your imagination. You know. Nonfiction books don't let you use that part of your brain that much. Yeah. So let's continue. Inside the hall, it was now quite dark. Bjorn clapped his hands, and it trotted four beautiful white ponies and several large, long bodied grey dogs. Bjorn said something to them in a queer language like animal noises turned into talk. They went out again and soon came back carrying torches in their mouths, which they lit at the fire and stuck in low brackets on the pillars of the hall about the central hearth. The dogs could stand on their hind legs when they wished and carry things from with their forefeet. Quickly, they got out boards and trestles from the side walls and set them up near the fire. Then ba 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 was heard, and in came some snow white sheep led by a large coal black ram. One bore a white cloth embroidered at the edge with figures of animals. Others bore on their broad backs trays with bowls and platters and knives and wooden spoons, which the dogs took and quickly laid on the trestle tables. These were very low enough even for Bilbo to sit at comfortably. Besides them, beside them, a pony pushed two low-seated benches with wide rush bottoms and little short, thick legs for Gandalf and Thorin, while at the far end he put Bjorn's big black chair on the same sort in which he sat with his great legs stuck far out under the table. These were all the chairs he had in his hall, and he probably had them low like the tables for the convenience of the wonderful animals that waited on him. What did the rest sit on? They were not forgotten. The other ponies came in rolling round drum-shaped sections of logs and smoothed and polished, and low enough even for Bilbo. So soon they were all seated at Bjorn's table, and the hall had not seen such a gathering for many a year. Jason's even older than Joria. Jason. Hello, Jason. Welcome to the stream. Jason Bender and Croatian Kush. How's it going? This is Hobbit, yeah. Hello, hello, Shalom, USA of America. Play cool on what you're reading. I remember reading this book in high school for English class 1993. No way! This book is that old? When did they make this book? 1993, huh? Wow. That's so interesting. Let's see. Tolkien, 1973, 1892 to 1970. This is 1973? Wow, that's crazy. This book is absolutely old. Oh, wow. Holy unk. Hey, be nice to Mr. What's your name? Jason. Boring. Forced to be atheist. Sexism isn't good. Yeah, it's true. Hello, Pyron. Welcome back to the stream. How's it going? Also, can I say that word? I guess so, but how's your day? Oh, you asking Queen? Did you say something before? Yo, Jory, what's good? And also, do you know a song named Imposter Syndrome? I don't know the song, but I know the term imposter syndrome. And a lot of people have it because like they don't feel like they're fit for the place that they're in, but that just takes some experience to getting used to. I mean, that does make it sound easier than it is, but yeah, I have to beat my imposter syndrome myself. But yeah, hope you've been good, Pyron. When can you go to the kitchen and make some sandwiches for the man? Which man? And hello, Oscar. Welcome back to the stream. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Somebody banned that Netanyahu. Do y'all know a song named Imposter Syndrome? No, because it's a banger in my terms. All right, I'll have to check that out. Anyway, so we're reading The Hobbit, right? I don't know if I should give you a recap, but I'm gonna just keep going. There they had a supper or a dinner such as they had not had since they left the last homely house in the west and said goodbye to Elrond. Wow, so that was a really long time ago. They had to eat something with the Lord of the Eagles, but it was just like mutton. Like it didn't have like anything good in it. But this supper was like really nice. So the light of the torches and the fire flickered about them, and on the table were two tall red beeswax candles. All the time they ate, Bjorn in his deep rolling voice told tales of the wild lands on this side of the mountains, and especially of the dark and dangerous wood that lay outstretched far to north and south a day's ride before them, barring their way to the east, the terrible forest of Mirkwood. The dwarfs listened and shook their beards, for they knew that they must soon venture into the forest, and that after the mountains it was the worst of the perils they had to pass before they came to the dragon's stronghold. When dinner was over, they began to tell tales of their own, but Bjorn seemed to be growing drowsy and paid little heed to them. They spoke most of gold and silver and jewels and the making of things but by smithcraft, and Bjorn did not appear to care for such things. There were no things of gold or silver in his hall, and few save the knives were made of metal at all. They sat long at the table with their wooden drinking bowls filled with mead. What is mead? The dark night came on outside. The fires in the middle of the hall were built with fresh logs, and the torches were put out. And still they sat in the light of the dancing flames with the pillars of the house standing tall behind them, and dark at the top like trees of the forest. Whether it was magic or not, it seemed to Bilbo that he heard a sound like wind in the branches stirring in the rafters, and the hoot of owls. Soon he began to nod with sleep, and the voices seemed to grow far away until he woke with a start. The great door had creaked and slammed. Bjorn was gone. The dwarfs were sitting cross-legged on the floor round the fire, and presently they began to sing. Some of their verses were like this, but there were many more, and their singing went on for a long while. The wind was on the weather teeth, but in the forest there no leaf. Their shadow lay by night and day, and dark things silent crept beneath. The wind came down from mountains cold, and like a tide they rolled and rolled. The branches grow in the forest mold, and leaves are laid upon the mold. The wind went on from west to east, all moving in the forest breeze. But shrill and harsh across the marsh, whistling voice for release. The greatest hits the tassels where the reeds were rattling on a wet oh sugar. Or she can pool under heaven's cold. Where rising clouds are torn and red, and passes the lonely mountain bear, and swept above the dragon's lair. Their black god dark label, their stark and flying smoke was in the air. Lift the world like a slide of the wind. Wide seas of the night, the moon set sail upon the gale, the stars were friend to leaping light. How's that? Why singing? Sorry, it's not me. It's the dwarves. They were singing around the fire. This is the closest we'll get to JoJo singing country song. I don't know why the dwarves are like have a Texan accent, but Bilbo began to nod again. Suddenly, up stood Gandalf. "It is time for us to sleep," he said. He said, "For us, but not, I think, for Bjorn. In this hall we can rest sound and safe, but I warn you not to forget what Bjorn said before he left us. You must not stray outside until the sun is up, on your peril." We all found that beds had already been laid at the side of the hall, on a sort of raised platform between the pillars and the outer wall. For him, there was a little mattress of straw and woolen blankets. He snuggled into them very gladly, summertime though it was. The fire burned low, and he fell asleep. Yet in the night he woke. The fire had now sunk to a few embers. The dwarfs and Gandalf were all asleep to judge by their breathing. A splash of white on the floor came from the high moon, which was peering down through the smoke hole in the roof. There was a growling sound outside, and a noise as of some great animal scuffling at the door. Bilbo wondered what it was and whether it could be Bjorn in enchanted shape, and if he would come in as a bear and kill them. He dived under the blankets and hid his head, and fell asleep again at last in spite of his fears. It was morning when he awoke. One of the dwarfs had fallen over him in the shadows where he lay, and had rolled down with a bump from the platform on the floor. It was Boffer, and he was grumbling about it when Bilbo opened his eyes. "Get up, lazy bones," he said, "or there will be no breakfast left for you." Up jumped Bilbo. "Breakfast!" he cried. "Where's breakfast?" "Mostly inside us," answered the other dwarfs, who were moving about the hall. "But what is left is out on the veranda. We have been out about looking for Bjorn ever since the sun got up, but there's no sign of him anywhere. Though he we found breakfast late as soon as we went out." "Where's Gandalf?" asked Bilbo, moving off to find something to eat as quick as he could. "Oh, out and about somewhere," they told him. But he saw no sign of the wizard all that day until the evening. Just before sunset, he walked into the hall where the hobbit and the dwarves were having supper, waited on by Bjorn's wonderful animals as they had been all day. Of Bjorn they had seen and heard nothing since the night before, and they were getting puzzled. "Where's our host, and where have you been all day yourself?" they all cried. "One question at a time, and none till after supper. I haven't had a bite since breakfast." At last Gandalf pushed away his plate and jug. He had eaten 2 whole loaves with masses of butter and honey and clotted cream, and drunk at least a quart of mead, and he took out his pipe. "I'll answer the second question first," he said. "But bless me! This is a splendid place for smoke rings." Indeed, for a long time they could get nothing more out of him. He was so busy sending smoke rings dodging around the pillars of the hall, changing them into all sorts of different shapes and colors, setting them at last chasing one another out of the hole in the roof. They must have looked very queer from outside, popping out into the air one after another, green, blue, red, silver, gray, yellow, white, big ones, little ones, dodging through the big ones and joining into figure eights and going off like a flock of birds into the distance. "I've been picking out bear tracks," he said at last. "There must have been a regular bears meeting outside here last night. I soon saw that Bjorn could not have made them all. I'm gonna get cake, bear back. Okay, I want waffles. Sadly, I have no waffles. You always make them, right? I didn't do anything. My brother got wrongfully banned on our accounts. Yeah, I remember that. Hello, Nihas Yifa, if you're still here. I do, it is. The messages come late to me because you can time out or ban other people before even the messages come to my screen. I found the bracelet at the park and it was really cute, so I kept it, but it broke today, and I remade it with the cherry charm instead of the rose charm because it had cherry in the code name for Ruben. Wow. I think you should, like, you know, I've been there myself, not about guys, but like my friends. I think I was like too dependent, like thinking too much about them. Like, it's not healthy. Okay, let's continue. So Gandalf was picking bear tracks, and then he's thinking there must have been a regular bears meeting outside here last night. I soon saw that Bjorn could not have made them all. There were far too many of them, and they were various sizes too. I should say they were little bears, large bears, ordinary bears, like gigantic big bears, and all dancing outside from dark to nearly dawn. They came from almost every direction except from the west over the river from the mountains. In that direction, only one set on footprints led, none coming, only one only one's going away from here. I followed these as far as the Karok. There they disappeared into the river, but the water was too deep and strong beyond the rock for me to cross. It is easy enough, as you remember, to get from this bank to the Karok by the ford, but on the other side is a cliff standing up from a swirling channel. I had to walk miles before I found a place where the river was wide and shallow enough for me to wade and swim. and then miles back again to pick up the tracks again. By that time, it was too late for me to follow them far. Then they went straight off into the direction of the pine woods of the east side of the Misty Mountains, where we had our pleasant little party with the wargs at the night before last. And now I think I have answered your first question too, ended Gandalf, and he sat a long while silent. Bilbo thought he knew what the wizard meant. What shall we do? He cried. If he led all the wargs and the goblins down here, we shall all be caught and killed. I thought you said we are not friends of theirs. So I did. And don't be silly. You had better go to bed, you wits. Your wits are sleepy. The hobby felt quite crushed, and as there seemed nothing else to do, he did go to bed. And while the dwarves were still singing songs, he dropped asleep, still puzzling his little head about Bjorn, till he dreamed a dream of hundreds of black bears dancing slow, heavy dances round and round in the moonlight in the courtyard. Then he woke up when everyone else was asleep, and he heard the same scraping, scuffling, snuffling, and growling as before. Next morning, they were all wakened by Bjorn himself. So here you are all still. Here you all are still, he said. He picked up the hobbit and he laughed. Not eaten up by wargs or goblins or wicked bears yet, I see. And he poked Mr. Baggins's waistcoat most disrespectfully. Little bunny is getting nice and fat again on bread and honey. Here chuckled. He chuckled. Come and have some more. So they all went to breakfast with him. Bjorn was most jolly for a change. Indeed, he seemed to be in a splendidly good humor and set them all laughing with his funny stories. Nor did they have to wonder long where he had been on or why he had been so nice to them, for he told them himself. He had been over the river and right back onto the mountains, from which you can guess that he could travel quickly, in bear shape at any rate. From the burnt wolf glade he had soon found out that part of their story was true, but he had found more than that. He had caught a warg and a goblin wandering in the woods. From these he had got news. The goblin patrols were still hunting with wargs for the dwarfs, and they were fiercely angry because of the death of the great goblin, and also because of the burning of the chief wolf's nose and the death from the wizard's fire of many of his chief servants. So much they told him when he forced his chief servants. They told him when he forced them, but he guessed there was more wickedness than this afoot, and that a great raid of the whole goblin army was their wolf allies was uh army was arm that a great raid of the whole goblin army with their wolf allies into the lands shadowed by the mountains might soon be made to find the dwarves, or to take vengeance on the men and creatures that lived there, and who they thought must be sheltering them. So they were actually coming for them. Is Bjorn the Forced Wizard? I'm trying to remember where you are at the story based on the movie. Okay, so Bjorn is the shape-shifting guy. Like I explained that earlier, but I don't know if you caught that. He was the guy that Gandalf he kind of knew. So this guy can turn into a bear or a human and maybe other stuff, but he mostly chooses the bear. And yeah, so that's him. I mean, they found him as a guy, but and he's still a guy here, but like to travel, it's easier to shapeshift as a bear. All right, what did you? Wait, hold on. Where did I stop? Sheltering them. Okay. Wait, Dre, your singing made me think of that one song. Like, soon will the weatherman come to bring us sugar and a tea in a room one day when the weather is right. We'll take out our leaf and go. Our leave and go. I've never heard of that song, but it sounds like something that you'd sing like on a rainy day. I don't I don't normally sing though. That's not good. But it's like it was like a low voice, so it's just reading poetry, I guess. It was a good story that of yours, said Bjorn, but I like it still better now. I'm sure it is true. You must forgive my not taking your word. If you lived near the edge of Mirkwood, you would take the word of no one that you did not know as well as your brother, or better. As it is, I can only say that I have hurried home as fast as I could to see that you are safe, and to offer you any help that I can. I shall think more kindly of dwarves after this. Kill the great goblin, he chuckled fiercely to himself. What did you do with the goblin at the and the warg? Asked Bilbo suddenly. Come and see, said Bjorn, and they followed round the house, and a goblin's head was stuck outside of the gate, and a warg skin was nailed to a tree just beyond. Bjorn was a fierce enemy, but now he was their friend, and Gandalf thought it wise to tell him their whole story and the reason of their journey, so that they could get the most help he could offer. This is what he promised to do for them. He would provide ponies for each of them and a horse for Gandalf for their journey to the forest, and he would lade them with food to last them for weeks with care, a package so as to be as easy as possible to carry. Nuts, flour, sealed jars of dried fruit, and red earthenware pots of honey, and twice baked cakes that would keep good a long time, and on a little of what they could march far. The making of these was one of his secrets, but honey was in them, as in most of his foods, and they were good to eat, though they made one thirsty. Water, he said, they would not need to carry this side of the forest, for there were streams and springs along the road. But your way through Mirkwood is dark, dangerous, and difficult, he said. Water is not easy to find here, nor food. The time is not yet come for nuts, though it may be past and gone indeed before you get to the other side. Nuts are about all that grow there, fit for food. In there, the wild things are dark, queer, and savage. I'll provide you with skins for carrying water, and I will give you some bows and arrows. But I doubt very much whether anything you find in Mirkwood will be wholesome to eat or to drink. There is one stream there, I know, black and strung with crosses, which crosses the path that you should neither drink of nor bathe in, for I have heard that it carries enchantment and a great drowsiness and forgetfulness. And in the dim shadows of the place, I don't think you will shoot anything, wholesome or unwholesome, without straying from the path. That you must not do for any reason. That is all the advice I can give you. Beyond the edge of the forest, I cannot help you much. You must depend on your luck and your courage and the food I send with you. At the gate of the forest, I must ask you to send back my horse and my ponies. But I wish you all speed, and my house is open to you if you ever come back this way again. Dang, he's so nice, that Bjorn guy. Swear you know it. Okay, I'll sing the start. The start is way more recognizable. There once was a ship that put to sea. The name of the ship was Billy O.T. I don't know if I spelled that right. Blah blah blah. I miss your lives, girl. Yo, Elmondale, welcome back to this stream. Nice to see you after so long. Yeah, Queen. The first part does sound a little more like familiar, but I never sung that before. Trying to see where this chapter ends. It's a pretty long chapter. Flies and spiders. Oh, never mind. I'm going to the next chapter. Okay. Actually, not that long. We have 4 more pages. Hoi, I'm back. Welcome back, Confident. I'm so happy with that name change. What music do you like to listen to, Jono? Sad, depressing songs. Very, very sad songs. Like yeah. It's not good for you though. Um, if you listen to sad songs, your whole day is gonna get ruined. You're just gonna cry. But I feel like for me, I don't know what the thought process is. If you're sad and you listen to sad songs and you cry, and it feels as if like you're crying, so it speeds up the sadness that you're feeling. But it doesn't. It just amplifies it. Have you ever read an enemies to lovers book? No, I have not. But that would be pretty nice to read. I don't know what the most classic enemies to lovers book is, but I'm trying to read the classics just because like I'm new to reading. Listen to As It Was. It'll bring nostalgia for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. Some songs have some really bad like memories attached to it. You know, songs have that kind of capacity to intertwine negative emotions or negative memories like that. I don't know what kind of song does that for you guys. For me, it has to be um, what was it? It was like by John Legend or something. But yeah, El Mundell? What is the book that you're talking about? Like an example for lovers to enemies or enemies to lovers. I mean, some songs make me think of my mom. Aw, so sweet, Queen. That's I feel so bad. I get the vibe of sad songs, Jojo, but currently I've been playing and listening to Blondie. I've never heard of that. Blondie and Pyron said, what did Pyron say? Imposter syndrome. All right, I'll have to check those out. Even though um it's not really allowed in my religion to talk or not talk, but like to share the act of listening to songs, you know. Like Two Moons by Boy with Yuki, because we used always listen to it, and this one song, but I can't remember the name. Aw, yeah. I mean, some songs they don't even need lyrics, bro. It's just like river flows in you, or like um, I don't know, like piano, like Yiruma. I don't know if you guys know that. Those are classics too. It's so nice though. Like I can't imagine like not listening to music ever. But I have to stop eventually. It's not good for you. Like the it's cheap, you know, cheap chemicals in your brain. Like dopamine. Dopamine is better earned rather than just poured into your brain from like listening to sounds, you know? Back then, in the olden days, they had to like go to a place and convince somebody who came up with that song to sing it again. It wasn't that easily accessible, you know? And they would cherish the person more, but the ability to just listen to it over and over again and replay it is just like that's never seen before, you know? That has to be unhealthy to a degree. If you like instrumental songs, Jojo, I suggest Farewell by Burnth. Wow. Farewell by Burnth. Should I write that down? But yeah, those are definitely sad sounding songs. That sounds like a lemonade. Watermelon sugar. Yeah, I feel like I know that one. That's kind of recent though. Anyways, let's continue reading. We need to do some activities that are good for our brains, you know? Something that's like high quality dopamine. It's like delayed gratification. It's a nice guitar instrument song. Oh, okay. Yeah, guitar is so vibey too. I don't like electric guitar though. I like that. What do you call it? Like acoustic guitar. Play tic tac toe. Is that a song? Or do you want me to actually play it like that? I choose scissors. What? You mean rock, paper, scissors? Okay. Then I choose rock. I choose two options. The song's acoustic guitar. Okay, good. That reminds me of I don't know if you guys played The Last of Us, but the main character Joel and the other one Ellie, like they used to play Take on Me, and they used to play guitar. That was in the second game though. I don't think you guys played that. It's really depressing that game. I lost. I only chose that after I saw that you chose scissors. Anyways, let's continue though. So the Bjorn guy set them all straight to their adventure, and he bid them farewell. They thanked him, of course, with many bows and sweepings of their hoods, and with many at your service, O master of the wide wooden halls. But their spirits sank at his grave words, and they all felt that the adventure was far more dangerous than they had ever thought than they had thought. While all the time, even if they passed all the perils of the road, the dragon was waiting at the end. All that morning they were busy with preparations. Soon after midday they ate with Bjorn for the last time, and after the meal they mounted the steeds he was lending them, and bidding him many farewells, they rode off through his gate at a good pace. As soon as they left his high hedges at the east of his fenced lands, they turned north and then bore to the northwest. By his advice, they were no longer making for the main forest road to the south of his land. Had they followed that the pass, their path would have led them down a stream from the mountains that joined the great river miles south of the Karok. At that point, there was a deep ford which they might have passed if they had still had their ponies, and beyond that, a track led to the skirts of the wood and to the entrance of the old forest road. But Bjorn had warned them that that way was now often used by the goblins, while the forest road itself, he had heard, was overgrown and disused at the eastern end and led to impassable marshes where the paths had long been lost. Its eastern opening had also always been far to the south of the lonely mountains, and would have left them still with the long and difficult northward march when they got to the other side. North of the Karok, the edge of Mirkwood grew closer to the border of the great river, and though here the mountains too drew down nearer, Bjorn advised them to take this way, for at a place a few days' ride due north of the Karok was the gate of little known pathway through Mirkwood that led straight toward the lonely mountain. The goblins, Bjorn had said, will not dare to cross the great river for 100 miles north of the Karok, nor to come near my house. It is well protected at night, but I should ride fast, for if they make their raid soon, they will cross the river to the south and scour all the edge of the forest. You are safer going north of the forest, so as to cut you off, and wargs run swifter than ponies. Still, you are safer going north, even though you seem to be going back nearer to the strongholds, for that is what they will least expect, and they will have the longer ride to catch you. Be off now, as quick as you may. That is why they were now riding in silence, galloping whenever the ground was grassy and smooth. With the mountains dark on their left, and in the distance the line of the river with its with its trees drawing ever closer. The sun had only just turned west when they started, and till evening it lay golden on the land about them. It was difficult to think of pursuing goblins behind, and when they had put many miles between them and Bjorn's house, they began to talk and to sing again, and to forget the dark forest path that lay in front. But in the evening, when the dusk came on and the peaks of the mountains glowered against the sunset, they made a camp and set a guard, and most of them slept uneasily with dreams in which there came the howl of hunting wolves and the cries of goblins. Still, the next morning dawned bright and fair again. There was an autumn-like mist white upon the ground, and the air was chill. But soon the sun rose red in the east, and the mists vanished. And while the shadows were still long, they were off again. So they rode now for 2 more days, and all the while they saw nothing save grass and flowers and birds. Uh, and all the while they saw nothing save grass and flowers and birds and scattered trees and occasionally small herds of red deer browsing or sitting at noon in the shade. Sometimes Bilbo saw the horns of a hart sticking out of the long grass, and at first he thought they were the dead branches of the trees. That third evening they were so eager to press on, for Bjorn had said they should reach the forest gate early on the fourth day, that they rode still forward after dusk and into the night beneath the moon. As the light faded, Bilbo thought he saw away to the right or to the left the shadowy form of a great bear prowling along the same direction. But if he dared to mention it to Gandalf, the wizard only said, "Hush, take no notice." Next day they started before dawn, though their night had been short. They started before dawn, though the night had been short. As soon as it was light, they could see the forest come as it were to meet them, or waiting for them like a black and frowning wall before them. The land began to slope up and up, and it seemed to the hobbit that a silence began to draw in upon them. Birds began to sing less. There were no more deer, and not even rabbit were to be seen. But by the afternoon, they had reached the eaves of Mirkwood and were resting almost beneath the great overhanging boughs of its outer trees. It's 15 degrees Celsius here because it's night in winter. I don't know that in Fahrenheit, but that sounds really cold. Stay warm, Queen. Their trunks were huge and gnarled, their branches twisted, their leaves were dark and long, ivy grew on them and trailed along the ground. "Well, here is Mirkwood," said Gandalf, "the greatest of the forests of the northern world. I hope you like the look of it. Now, you must send these excellent ponies you have borrowed. Send back these excellent ponies you have borrowed." The dwarves were inclined to grumble at this point, but the wizard told them they were fools. Bjorn is not as far off as you seem to think, and you had better keep your promises anyway, for he is a bad enemy. Mr. Baggins's eyes are sharper than yours. If you have not seen each night after dark a great bear going along with us, or sitting far off in the moon watching our camps, not only to guard you and guide you, but to keep an eye on the ponies too. Bjorn may be your friend, but he loves his animals as his children. You do not guess what he loves, what his kindness. You do not guess what kindness he has shown you in letting dwarves ride them so far and so fast, nor what would happen to you if you tried to take them into the forest. What about the horses then? Said Thorin. You don't mention sending that back. I don't, because I'm not sending it. What about your promise then? I will look after that. I'm not sending the horse back. I am riding it. Then they knew that Gandalf was going to leave them at the very edge of Mirkwood, and they were in despair. But nothing they could say would change his mind. Now we had this all out before. When we landed on the Carrock, he said, "It is no use arguing. I have, as I told you, some pressing business away south, and I'm already late through bothering with you people. We may meet again before all is over, and then again, of course, we may not. That depends on your luck and your courage and sense. And I am sending Mr. Baggins with you. I have told you before that he has more about him than you guess, and you'll find that out before long. So cheer up, Bilbo, and don't look so glum." Aw, this is so sad. Oh, Gandalf is leaving them now. That's why he didn't give his swords back. So, cheer up, Thorin and company. This is your expedition after all. Think of the treasure at the end, and forget the forest and the dragon, at any rate until tomorrow morning. When tomorrow morning came, he still said the same. So now there was nothing left to do but to fill their water skins at a clear spring they found close to the forest gate and unpack the ponies. They distributed the packages as fairly as they could, though Bilbo thought his lot was wearisomely heavy and did not at all like the idea of trudging for miles and miles with all that on his back. "Don't you worry," said Thorin. "I'll get a lighter. It will get lighter all too soon. Before long, I expect we shall all wish our packs heavier when the food begins to run short." Then at last they said goodbye to their ponies and turned their heads for home. Off they trotted gaily, seeming very glad to put put their tails towards the shadow of Mirkwood. As they went away, Bilbo could have sworn that a thing like a bear left the shadows of the trees and shambled off quickly after them. Now Gandalf too said farewell. Bilbo sat on the ground, feeling very unhappy, and wishing he was beside the wizard on his tall horse. He had gone just inside the forest after breakfast, a very poor one, and it had seemed as dark in there in the morning as at night, and very secret. A sort of watching and waiting feeling, he said to himself. Goodbye, said Gandalf to Thorin, and goodbye to you all. Goodbye. Straight through the forest is your way now. Don't stray off the track. If you do, it is 1,000 to 1 you will never find it again and never get out of Mirkwood. And then I don't suppose I or anyone else will ever see you again. So we really do have to go through, groaned the hobbit. Yes, you do, said the wizard. If you want to get to the other side, you must either go through or give up on your quest. And I'm not going to allow you to back out now. Mr. Baggins, to back out now, Mr. Baggins. I'm ashamed of you for thinking of it. You have got to look after all these dwarfs for me, he laughed. No, no, said Bilbo. I didn't mean that. I meant, is there no way around? There is, if you care to go 200 miles or so on out of your way north, and twice that south. But you wouldn't get a safe path even then. There are no safe paths to this part of the world. Remember, you are over the edge of the wild now, and in for all sorts of fun wherever you go. Before you could get around Mirkwood in the north, you would be right among the slopes of the Grey Mountains, and they are simply stiff with goblins, hobgoblins, and orcs of the worst description. Before you could get around in the south, you would get into the line of the necromancer, and even you, Bilbo, won't need me to tell you tales of that black sorcerer. I don't advise you to go anywhere near the places overlooked by his dark tower. Stick to the forest track, keep your spirits up, hope for the best, and with a tremendous slice of luck, you may come out one day and see the long marshes lying below you, and beyond them, high in the east, the lonely mountains where dear old Smog lives, though I hope he is not expecting you. Very comforting you are, to be sure, growled Thorn. Goodbye. If you won't come with us, you had better get off without any more talk. Goodbye then, and really goodbye, said Gandalf, and he turned his horse and rode down into the west. But he could not resist the temptation to have the last word. Before he had passed quite out of the hearing, he turned and put his hands to his mouth and called to them. They heard his voice come faintly. Goodbye! Be good, take care of yourselves, and don't leave the path. Then he galloped away and was soon lost to sight. Oh, goodbye and go away, grunted the dwarfs, all the more angry because they were really filled with dismay at losing him. Now began the most dangerous part of all the journey. They were each shouldered the heavy pack of the water skin, which was their share, and turned from the light that lay on the lands outside and plunged into the forest. Wow. They're going into the forest now without Gandalf. Last time they were in a forest, they were nearly eaten by wolves or the wargs. But Gandalf saved them with his magic. Like he lit them all on fire. But then the eagle saved them. But now they don't have anybody. There's no eagle, there's no Bjorn, there's no Gandalf. They're just the dwarves and the hobbit. Also, hobgoblins. Hello, Hamza. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the stream. I just logged in. What's happening in chat? I don't know. Let me see. السلام عليكم يا أختي وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Jerry don't understand C? No, I'm American. I don't know Celsius. It's 59 Fahrenheit. Oh, okay. 59 is, yeah, it gets that cold here sometimes. Wow, look at you teaching them Assalamu alaikum. That's very good. What are you reading? Hello, Omkar Bujbal. I'm reading The Hobbit. And it's a really good book, honestly. I can't believe I'm halfway done. Actually, no. I feel like that's not really halfway. But it is a lot of progress, I am not gonna lie. I'm so happy with that. Because I've never read a fictional book before. On my own accord. It's 300 pages, and we're 130 pages in. So after this chapter, we'll be halfway done. It's not about finishing, it's more about, like, you know, keeping up with it, yeah? That's 48% done. Yeah, yeah. So, very happy about that. Alhamdulillah. 13 out of 30. Cool. What is it about, by the way? It's just like, it's really nice. Like, It's about, adventure, like they're going through a lot of uh there's a lot of like fictional creatures that they encounter, some good, some bad, but their end goal is to get like the treasure from the dragon, you know? It's kind of cliche. It is a really old book. It's from the 1930s actually, and I had no idea how old this was. But it's so nice, and I want to rewatch the movie. It's honestly something like I've watched as a kid. I forgot the whole thing though. And The Lord of the Rings must be really good too. Now that I'm reading this, because this is the prequel to Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you've heard about that. Assalamu alaikum. What does this mean? It means peace and blessings be upon you. That's just our Muslim greeting. You know how in Star Wars, how the Mandalorian they say, "May the Force be with you," or like, or actually no, they didn't say that. They say, "This is the way." That's their like phrase. Assalamu alaikum is the Muslim phrase. You know? Yeah. All right. So I think I'm gonna call it here just because I finished the chapter, and now we're on chapter 8. So that's really makes me happy. May the Force be with you. Assalamu alaikum literally may the force be with you, except instead of force, it's like peace and blessings. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you. Assalamu alaikum. Barakatuh. Alright, I'm gonna call it there. Who doesn't follow Islam? Non-Muslims. Okay, bye, Jojo. Bye. Cool. You like philosophy? Yeah, I do. I do. Assalamu alaikum can only be said to Muslims, but others it's salam alaikum. Explain. Yeah. But you have to reply to salam whether it's Muslim or not. Anyways, bye. Take care, guys. Assalamu alaikum. See you guys in the next stream.